The Smithsonian meets ArtX Lagos. Lagos, as we know it, is the fastest moving city in Nigeria, a commercial hub and the home of the most eccentric arts and cultural festivals. It was with this in mind that the Smithsonian National Museum of African Art hosted the first edition of Taste in Lagos, Nigeria. Taste is the foundation experience of 24 hours of the Smithsonian in Lagos, the inaugural event that launches the National Museum of African Art's new international presence. Taste held as a multi-sensory participatory art experience curated by Temitayo Ogunbiyi, exploring how food, sound, and portraiture can help us remember and recognize the complexity inherent in representations, ecosystems, and the performances within everyday life. The new director of the Smithsonian, Renèe Chuks, spoke on the importance of this art collaboration between the Smithsonian and Africa.
I'm newly appointed as the director of the National Museum of African Art. I was appointed starting in July, and I've been working remotely. So I've only been in DC for 2 weeks before coming here. But for me, it was really important to launch my strategy as a new director, which is to really make sure that NAMAFA becomes a 21st century global African art museum, and to make sure that we are not a museum about Africa, we are a museum of Africa for global Africans. And so it is entirely appropriate that we make this launch of this strategy and we show that we have a new approach to what is a museum, what's our relationship with the continent, and that we do it here in Lagos on the continent. Because this is a center for global Africans. There's huge amounts of Nigerians in the diaspora in the US. We have an event in which we're in partnership with some amazing arts organizations, ArtX, but also we've timed this event because we're partnering with the Africa International Film Festival and also Lagos Photo Festival. And so because our museum is very much positioned around new experiences of art that cross boundaries and bring people together. So fashion and film and music and taste and sound, which is our experience today, it felt really appropriate that we created an event that was able to work with these often different worlds of film and photo and art and bring them all together in an experience.
One of the major goals of the Smithsonian is to return stolen African art to its roots. The Benin bronzes, some of Africa's greatest treasures, were looted in 1897. After several deliberations and calls for them to be returned to their rightful home, some organizations in possession have committed to returning them. The Smithsonian has followed suit by removing Benin bronzes from display and is planning to restitute them. With this partnership, the director, Renèe Chuks, emphasized that the goal is not to take African art away from its roots, but to make them available for a global audience.
I'm South African, and I know I grew up in Canada, hence the accent, but I'm a very proud South African. And as an African, it is my absolute commitment of my life to make sure that African art and material culture and intellectual property and knowledge production is not stolen or exploited or denigrated or stereotyped or represented by other people who are not, who have no connection to the work. And so I have spent a lot of my life as a museum consultant working on decolonizing museums. And so our commitment to repatriate the bronzes is within a much broader strategy that ensures that this kind of thing doesn't happen again. And so it's about how we document, how we refer to the language we use to refer to African art, African artists, African knowledge, African culture. It's who we represent and how. It's who we hire, who works in our museum. It's how we treat the people that we work with, the artists, the curators, the institutions, It's the exhibitions that we do, it's the partnerships we form, it's everything. A museum is an institution that does a lot of things. It doesn't just do exhibitions. And I have a really strong commitment to making sure that our institutional practice empowers Africans all over the world, and that Africans who come to our museum feel that we belong, that this is our place. And that's why part of my strategy is really to launch this distributed museum model. So yes, we have a collection that is in Washington, D.C., and we are very proudly part of the Smithsonian National Museum Network. But we are also for global Africa.
Taste is a platform for creative encounters within the African avant-garde space. Using sound, photography, and food respectively, artists Emeka Ogboh, Iké Udé, and Temitayo Ogunbiyi, with chef Renèe Chuks, shifted away from the norm to question what we see as expected or normal, creating room for excellence to thrive by simply being different. This was one of the major features of a panel discussion with Azu Nwagbogu, director and founder of the Lagos Photo Festival and African Artists Foundation, Tokini Peterside, the founder of Art X Lagos, Chioma Onyenwe, the creative director of the African International Film Festival, and Naira Blackensberg, the director of the Smithsonian National Museum of African Art.
Lagos Photo is 12 years old, AAF is 16 years old. You must have seen immense change in that time. But if we speak directly to kind of the efforts of your organization, what would you say some of those results have been? And then what are you hoping for the future?
Yeah, so recently last year, because we couldn't physically have a real-time, real space exhibition for Lagos Photo, we launched the whole museum. And for the last, since my time in South Africa as a museum director, I began to think a lot about collection and collecting and how that has changed, and the conversation around restitution and how the current modality differ from, say, events 200 years ago, 150 years ago. And that led me to think about how the activities that we engage with today can sort of accelerate the intelligence around restitution. And by that I mean not forcing, but inducing citizens, normal people, to begin to understand the importance of heritage.
For one of the artists on display on behalf of the Smithsonian National Museum of African Art, Iké Udé, he focused on the mystique, creating a 3-part art experience that included an exhibition with interactive studio sets and a tableau vivant living installation. Iké Udé is a Nigerian-American conceptual artist who has been creating work that complicates notions of identity and perception since the 1990s. He uses photography to draw attention to how individuals portrayed in highly posed performances can reveal more truth than contrived poses that aim to be natural.
Unfortunately, a lot of the photographers, I would say maybe about 95% of them, they do the same thing. And there's also a very prevalent aesthetics, if you like, one-trick pony of making everybody look like black skin, like extraordinary darkened skin, with popping white eyes, like a black skin kind of representation of the African / the black at the height of colonial times, where they have white actors paint their face black. Now, most of our painters and photographers, they blacken African subject skin. It could be yellow or almond complexioned, but in this day and age, they make your skin way darker. So that is the prevalent aesthetic. That's what's trending. So most of the photographers and painters, If you look at it, if just go online and galleries and museums, so they're perpetuating blackface, basically. I think that it would hopefully help to break the mold, and that a lot of young African photographers or not so young photographers can realize that they don't have to do blackface. They don't have to do like this like one-trick pony aesthetics, you know, that they can think about how to compose a picture, how to make a portrait, or for that matter, how to make an image or a picture work by patient organization.
Let's talk about taste memory. This was a collaboration between Lagos-based visual artist Temitayo Ogunbiyi and chef Renèe Chuks. Their menu consisted of the most unconventional recipes, from fresh Cuban mint and broccoli leaves grown in Ogunbiyi's home garden, mixed with Chef Renèe's locally sourced squid ink, pineapple, hibiscus, turmeric, and bambara, all to honor their connections to Yoruba cooking techniques.
So these are all local ingredients that many who live here or have grown up here would be popular with, that would find familiar rather. So cassava is one, of course we use it for gari, we use it to make eba. Some people eat it steamed, some people ferment it to make fufu. So Chef Renèe Chuks uses cassava flour to create pasta. And she infuses these pastas sometimes with spinach, with turmeric. Then she also has the fonio or acha flour pasta. And then she also has the plantain flour pasta, which I heard was a huge hit with the curry goat. People seem to really enjoy that.
The Smithsonian National Museum of African Art is here to tell a different African story, one that is not bound in chains or hidden, but one that will show African art in all its glory for the world to see.